Deputy Prime Minister's hit out at the shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves for comparing herself to the Iron Lady. Reeves said in a speech last week that a Labour government would bring about major economic change, just as Thatcher did when she swept to power in 1979.
Is that, as in the 1970s, we are in a moment of flux, in which old certainties about economic management have been found wanting. Once again, we have found ourselves in a moment of political turbulence and recurrent crises, with the burden falling on the shoulders of working people. As we did at the end of the 1970s, we stand at an inflection point.
Inflection point. So end of the 70s, 79, Thatcher came in, changed everything. We'll discuss whether that was for the good or the bad. Oliver Dowden said Rachel Reeves will never measure up to Thatcher. He wrote in The Sun on Sunday, it says all you need to know about the desperation of the Labour Party that they have to pick a Conservative icon because they have, look at this, he says they have none of their own. I'm flattered that Labour is pretending to be Conservative to woo voters, but I'm not fooled. Question is, should Labour or any modern day politician be looking to Thatcher for inspiration? There's the question. Does she remind you? We can show. Let's have a look at a picture of Thatcher here, and just see if she reminds us of anyone. Just that face, those features.
Are you taking the mic?
Hang on. Look at that, Marina.
Oh wow.
I'm seeing it. I am seeing it.
You don't like that?
Sorry.
No.
There we go.
That's insulting. You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
What's wrong with Thatcher, though?
Right. Do we need a second Thatcher? We didn't need the first one. I can't believe how people sort of look through these like rose-tinted lens of this Iron Lady. What she oversaw, what she launched essentially with Thatcherism was a heist. It was asset stripping of this country, which we are still dealing with now. It is basically where one class, one region took everything away from everyone else. She didn't care.
You're talking about privatisation.
I'm talking about deindustrialisation, where there was absolute disregard for the lives and livelihoods and communities that are still reeling now. And then privatisation, how did that work out for us? Our energy, our water, our steel,
council houses.
Council houses, which kickstarted the housing crisis we're now living now. The idea that she's oversaw this period of political renewal. No, she didn't renew the economy. She shattered it.
Well, let's just, before we go to Angela, let's just have a look at the wall over here and just see whether we can get any facts out of this. And as always with Mrs. Thatcher, you've got Thatcher positives and negatives. And we'll start on the economy here. And just so we'll get some graphs on the economy, OK? UK fell into recession just after she came to power. So, yes, there's that. However, then recovered a bit. And the prosperity grew to match Germany's. So that's on the upside. We then had massive surge in inflation. It came down under Thatcher, then went up again. And you then got, unfortunately, in some ways, a massive property boom. Thatcher contained the trade unions. Strike numbers went through the floor. But her policies may have cost millions of jobs, as Marina was saying. And in terms of the bigger political picture, OK, she had the Falklands victory in '82, which was massive for her, kept her in office. Cold War success, that's her with Reagan and Gorbachev and so on. That's the positive. On the negatives, the miners' strike was prosecuted in a pretty brutal way. And she had a pretty brutal style. That's the book to read if you want to find out more about Mrs. Thatcher by Hugo Young, called One of Us, because she used to say, is he one of us, about her ministers. So there we are, Angela. Which side are you on?
I'm very much in the favour of us needing a Thatcher-style figure, which is why I wore a blue shirt today, by the way. It wasn't actually, but that's just by the way.
Understood.
Yeah, OK. But the fact is, I think, OK, we can argue about the policies. She did smash the unions. She tried to transform the country into the home-owning classes, this idea of when you own your own home, you feel invested in the country. She wanted growth, enterprise. She wanted to inculcate a spirit of resilience, creativity, and she did smash the unions. I don't think she'd have put up with the doctor strike the way that it's being conducted now. But I think there's a bigger point here, OK? And that is that she was a figure that suggested that we weren't a kind of this colourless country that didn't know where we were going or what we were doing. You know, you have Sir Flip-Flop, Keir Starmer, who doesn't seem to have a single coherent policy behind all the sound bites. Rishi Sunak has been accused of being weak. Thatcher brought colour back to politics. She was strong.
Well, Boris Johnson brought colour back, but that wasn't necessarily a good thing. Do you mean it's just certainty or
I think
just
you need
conviction?
you need a robust leadership. Obviously, you don't want wacko policies, but this idea of having a robust figure that helped you feel as if the country was going in the right direction of travel.
But it wasn't.
We have lost that. When was the last time that we had, Boris, again, divisive, polarising figure, but his battle bus campaign swept into this record landslide victory.
You're talking about the bus with the Brexit numbers.
So we're just saying, just because...
I see,
Sorry, are we just saying just because someone is strong and assertive in their position that they're a good leader? Absolutely not. And you say it's not about, we're not looking at policy. No,
I'm looking at policy
look at the policy.
I'll give it
because
you.
Because we are broken as a result of the balls that she set in motion. That is what we're doing. And also, her economy was buoyed by the discovery of oil in the North Sea. Norway and UK discovered that oil at the same time. What did Norway do? It set up a sovereign wealth fund, and that's why it's one of the richest countries. What did Thatcher do? She gave it away.
Okay,
Like she did
Peter
with
in
so many of
Wolverhampton.
our own resources.
Do you think, Peter in Wolverhampton, that Labour should be saying, look, we're going to give you a Thatcher?
Well, I don't think we needed a Labour Thatcher. I think we need another Tory Thatcher. I think it was very exciting. People forget how exciting it was in the 70s because Thatcher had thought through ideas. She had a plan to defeat the working class and she carried it out with great elan and also created a great counter.
Are you being sarcastic about her defeating the working class?
Not at all, no. I mean, I think some of those people were hideous communists and she was right on them and she was right abroad to oppose communism.
But you don't want to defeat a whole class of people. You end up, in a country that's just in strife, don't you, Peter?
She took milk away from junior pupils. She removed nutritional standards in schools. She got rid of playgrounds. She was vile.
That's while she was Education Secretary.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's you're going back there. What's that, Peter?
I say nobody's perfect. I mean, people are always going to be...
so forgiving.
People are always going to be ambiguous as leaders, but I think she was a person who had ideas, vision and a plan, and that's what we need. Where do you
see, in terms of the sort of most famous prime minister since the war, Churchill, Thatcher, Blair, how would you rank them, Peter?
Well, I think Thatcher stands head and shoulders above Blair, who was just a reformist who never got anywhere until he started a war. OK, Peter, thank you very much indeed. An interesting political analysis there.
Yeah, absolutely.
From all angles.
We also haven't mentioned small businesses, which any economist will tell you are the backbone of the financial strength of any particular country. She wanted this kind of earn and spend democracy. She wanted people to be energised by the possibility of entrepreneurialism and all the things that go with that. And as a consequence, she wanted to reduce the size of the state. And actually, top-level tax, when she came to power, was 98%, and it fell to 40% by the time she left office.
Derek's in Northamptonshire. Hi, Derek.
Oh, good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning. Where are you on Mrs Thatcher?
Well, there's one issue which I may be in a minority view on, which is something that Mrs Thatcher brought in when she was Premier, and that was the introduction of the poll tax, also known as...
Yeah, right at the end,
charge. And I think that was a much better system than we have now, which is a property-based tax.
Well, they said that the theory was, and this is where she came unstuck, that she said a dustman should pay the same as a duke because they're using the same council services, and didn't seem to really understand that dustmen don't have the same amount of money.
Well, I think that it should be income-based.
Oh, so OK, so that's not the poll tax. All right, because the poll tax was a flat rate for every single person over 18.
Yes, but I think that's what we should revisit, the council tax system, not necessarily exactly like it was, that is to say the poll tax or community charge, but a revised system that is not property-based but income-based.
Do you think she was a good Prime Minister, Derek?
In some respects, yes. But I mean, there's a lot of industry around here that's disappeared. We had mining, we had...
There we are. Marina, that's the thing I can't get my head around. Thank you, Derek. Whether, as a result, those things would have closed anyway, but she shut them faster.
And you know, I understand that things evolve, but it was the way she dealt with them. She would not engage with them. And was there any type of support for those communities that were just left completely just to fend for themselves when she took away their mass industry? There was nothing. She didn't care.
Well, the whole communities were on.
With her. I mean, it was she had to smash them. They were strangling the country. I mean, when she came to power, the country was a basket case. 3-day week, winter of discontent, bodies piling up.
She saw unemployment double. It was 1.3 million. It almost doubled when
Her argument was you slash taxes and people will have more of an incentive to go out and run a business and get rich. Why did that not happen in any of those mining communities? That's what I don't understand. Where those communities just died. They didn't have a sudden burst of entrepreneurialism.
No, and I think, there's probably lots of different reasons. And yeah, it's a fair question, but equally, I suppose precisely because it was a community occupation, it wasn't just, there's a lot of miners living here. It was within the bones of the community and there was a culture there. And it was probably very difficult to disassociate oneself from that.
Let's speak to our friend Deirdre in Northumberland. Hi, Deirdre.
Morning, panel. Yes, we need another Thatcher like we need a hole in the head. My goodness. It was her own people who got rid of her in the end. Remember when she came out crying, getting in her car? It wasn't the public, so that's what her own people thought about her. She introduced the poll tax. She privatised the utilities. We're paying the price for that now. She privatised the water. Goodness me, look what's happened to that. She destroyed trade unions. She destroyed workers' rights. She destroyed communities. What is there for any woman to think that, they could base themselves on Margaret Thatcher?
Why didn't, when Labour were in power, why didn't they unwind all that stuff?
Well, yeah, exactly. But, somebody said Blair didn't do much, but Blair did. He did a lot apart from the war. He introduced taxes for the poor, pensions tax credit, child tax credit. He built Sure Starts. We all forget those kind of good things that he did. And I'm not a fan of Tony Blair either because of the war. But goodness me, Rachel Reeves needs to go back and have a long sleep. Given that
she's not Thatcher. There's no way she's a Thatcher.
It's always dangerous if you're on the Labour side to start bringing up Thatcher. It seems to rebound.
She campaigned for Corbyn, so that's a bit of a swing. And she talks about economic growth and driving entrepreneurialism. And yet, equally, the banning zero contracts, strengthening the striking rights. That's going to stymie business?
Let's see. It's going to be the most fascinating election.